Alongside its film career, the Cars franchise was also a highly successful video game series, spawning 3.5 open-world racers and 2 Mario Kart clones. The pitch for the first 3 titles was fairly straightforward. You control Lightning McQueen, driving around a playable rendition of Radiator Springs, completing minigames and traditional races while hanging out with the film's cast. It's an incredibly lucrative concept because what kid at the time wouldn't play that? But it was also surprisingly solid stuff. There was just something surreal about seeing the film's amorous affection for Americana given interactive flesh. The grand beauty of Arizona is captured here in a way fiction rarely manages, accompanied by an appropriately twangy and bouncy soundtrack. Defying expectations of cash grab mediocrity, these first 3 titles in the Cars series were serious mood pieces, with a stellar driving model designed by industry veterans and a host of compelling minigames. Regardless of one's age, it was easy to get lost in the rich setting and soak in the sweethearted stories, particularly as a fan of the larger franchise. But after those enormously popular open-world titles, the series was shuffled off to different developers working with entirely different tools. Utilizing frameworks set by the Toy Story 3 game, yes, really, Cars 2 and 3 were fairly standard linear kart racers with some suitably simplistic stunt mechanics. You could flip and flop your car around to gain boost, then spend that boost to pull ahead of opponents. The racetracks were incredibly wide with obvious shortcuts and straightforward driving physics. There was also an abundance of obvious rubber band AI, ensuring only the final laps ever truly mattered and giving way too much importance to the aforementioned boost mechanic. And much unlike the open world games, there was no greater atmosphere, storytelling, or style to tie it all together. It all felt comparatively mediocre, despite some reasonably high production value. Lastly, there was the Disney Infinity Cars playset, which fused the open world trilogy's free-roaming exploration with Cars 2 and 3's stunt driving silliness. That may sound like the best of both worlds, but it came out critically undercooked. You do technically still roam around town, completing minigames to help the folks of Radiator Springs, but the town's art assets are greatly simplified, reduced in size, and almost every task boils down to fairly tedious fetch quests. In the full-fledged open-world titles, you'd participate in relay races, play cops and robbers, or flee from Frank, but here you're just nabbing crudely placed collectibles. The actual kart racing fares just as poorly, with terrible track variety and even more shallow boost-to-win boredom. But hey, at least it's all co-op. Overall, it's easy to dismiss this game series as forgettable flotsam, especially with its uneven quality, but I think that's an immense disservice to its legacy. Cars, Cars International, and Race-O-Rama were masterfully moody and made with obvious affection for the setting and cast. Then the kart racers, while a significant slip in quality, at least harbored a sleek presentation and somewhat unique stunt-centric driving model. None of them feel lazily produced, and it's interesting that the series offered 2 completely distinct styles of play, which it then attempted to merge with an ill-fated Disney Infinity spinoff.